States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The school board will convene to executive session tonight to consider the promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, for a full-time special ed aide, a part-time special ed aide, and a middle school, high school secretary. We don't have any guests, but we do have a guest. Did you sign up to speak, Tracy? No. No guests to speak. Are there any items anyone wishes removed from the consent agenda? If not, those items are approved by consent with donations from the Jacksonport Area Business Association of $1,000 for the band and choir, and the Lutzy Family Foundation for $1,000 for football. We'll move to administrator reports and begin with Mrs. Margraf tonight.
Thank you. I have just two quick additions. The first one pertains to the first item on my board report, but I'm proud to say that the IEP audit is complete. It was a really long journey. We were really successful. I'm really thankful for the staff for all the hard work that they put into that. More importantly, we had the final stage of that at the end of June, and that's when someone from the Department of Public Instruction comes to school and gives us our final check. Pulls random student IEPs and makes sure that we're doing the job consistently. And he was really, really impressed with the professional development that the team did all year long, that he actually asked for all of our materials to use as exemplars for other districts. So I just thought that was pretty cool for such a stressful, and not necessarily stressful, yeah, it was time consuming, it was a little bit stressful, and I was just really proud of the staff and to be able to pass on potentially to other districts what we've done to make it successful. And then the other item I wanted to note is that the forward exam tests are in, and next week we will be collating those and sending them out to our families. So that's all I have for this month.
How often do they come and survey you?
Pardon?
How often do they survey you? Every year?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years.
Mr. Hills?
Not a lot this month, but did want to remind everyone that we'll be sending out information to our 4K families. Everyone is considered new, even if they have students who are currently in Sevastopol. And the information that they'll be getting is that we will be doing that staggered start that we've done the last few years, which has been beneficial. The teachers have continued to ask for that.
Mr. Schaefer?
On my end, we had quite a good interest with the middle school, high school secretary position. We had a lot of candidates interested in the position. We interviewed 4 people for the position. We've also been conducting teacher interviews, trying to fill in the position for Kyle Schleiss in the math position, and taking a look at some of our clubs and what they do at our school and what they offer. It's kind of what's been going on this month.
None of those secretarial applicants were Spanish speaking?
Unfortunately, no.
Do you ever use your Spanish students who are fluent in English as translators for those? Because I read in somebody's report that we have a significant number of students who don't excel in English at all. And
I don't know if our Spanish-speaking students that are fluent in Spanish would be able to do the translating to English necessarily. But we're coming up with a plan of having coverage in the not necessarily in the office, but someone on staff available, because we have 5 staff members who are bilingual.
so we don't have any came here as really small children. Because my son's girlfriend's second grader, and
We have some.
served as a translator in another second grade class.
We have some, but I don't think it's a viable option in the office.
No, I'm talking about the office, I'm talking about someplace where we have a problem just with.
I think you're just saying, are we trying to leverage?
Oh, we're trying to alleviate the problem.
We're trying to leverage with our
Maybe
Spanish,
classroom more.
our bilingual students, with those of our students who are not bilingual yet. Did it help
When
suppose?
we schedule new students, if they're non-English speakers, we will take a look and see if there's an English speaker in that classroom.
Oh, okay.
You know, if we've got 2 homerooms and we can pick one, we'll pick the one that has more ELL support or has a Spanish speaker in that classroom.
I did notice in the article recently in the paper on 988 that they use language line solutions to provide caller translation services in more than 250 additional languages. So, or whatever. That's what.
Yeah, also uses something like that with patients.
Mhm.
And it's like 5,000 languages they use.
Anything else from Mr. Schaefer or for Mr. Schaefer? Yeah. Anything anybody wants to direct on the athletic director of the talented report? There's nothing. We'll move to the superintendent's report.
We are moving to online registration. Stephen's going to send out emails on that this week, both in English and Spanish, and then the principals will do a follow-up one the following week. On the 1st and 7th of August, we're going to have in-person online. So it'll be in-person if you're brand new to the district. If you're a returning student and you can't figure out how to do the online, we'll have some terminals set up and Stephen will walk them through that. So they still will do online, it'll just be with a tutorial. So. And Tiffany Kelsey, our new food service director, is in Wausau this week for training there. So.
Great. Anything else from Mr. McGee? There's nothing. I don't have anything. We'll move to the committee reports and the athletic committee.
Basically just went over the stuff, the handbooks, and discuss what you see in your packet.
We will be talking, discussion on it in the new business area of what we talked about, right?
Okay.
The changes.
Okay. That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Building and grounds committee?
Well, some issues came up, and, well, one of them is dealing with the HVAC system now and trying to, fine tune it so it,
And Dan had the EC guy in the following day. The air conditioning on second floor doesn't automatically kick on, and he explained it to be like the dial-up, when you have dial-up internet, and it kicks you off. It's too much for the network, which is the company's problem, so they're working on splitting it with more equipment. The equipment's been ordered, and it should be here by the beginning of the school year, but it kicks them off kind of like the dial-up.
let's see, electronic sign, company we're dealing with supposedly has the necessary permits in hand.
I have the permit.
He has the
Yep,
permits.
they sent it to us, we have the permit, the sign's been ordered. WPS first has to do a site visit, and then has to schedule a work date after you do the site visit. They're pretty backed up right now, and the sign's been ordered, and there'll be a race whether the sign gets here first or WPS gets here first.
Okay. So we haven't,
I don't know who I'm betting on, no.
we still haven't nailed down though. I mean, have we
It's
nailed down the
moving.
location?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep, they got a flag out there, so.
all right. And, what else?
Well, we got wood chips coming, they're
Yeah,
here now for
we-
the back trails.
Some work on the trail.
And I've been trying to get hold of Myron. I've talked to 2 different people at Myron about our greenhouse, and they haven't gotten back to me. And then sound system, you want to take that?
Oh, yeah, so there, I think that's a recommendation tonight, but what we're looking at is, well, there was some discussion and research is, it's, the high school gym has some acoustical challenges. I mean, we've had the gym for a long time. I think there's a lot of discussion that gym's not going anywhere. So, they had a bunch of bids and options to come in, or proposals, I should say. And the recommendation that came out of the group was basically to go with the guys out of Milwaukee. He's going to lead kind of an acoustical study so we kind of can really get after the acoustics and then follow it up with a good sound system. And he would do the study and analysis and recommendations and serve as a project manager to bring in the subcontractors to do the work that we would agree to. And I think there's been discussions on, so the first effort will just be the analysis and projected plan, and within that we can look at if it's all done at once based on budget, or if we need to do it in some phases, some broken out thing based on budget needs, and then that'll be prioritized by the school. So that's, all right, that's kind of where we're at.
That's correct, yeah. So we'll go with the company that's going to do the study, and then his course of action. Well, we'll bring it back to the committee first, though.
One other thing for the building and grounds, if anybody's been in, district office is temporarily in the IMC right now. And next Monday, they will be in to start installing the new cabinets and desk and that. And then the countertops will be in a couple weeks after that. We are looking to be moved back in the third week of August. So we can be back in before teachers come back and the auditors come the last week of August.
Okay. The 100th anniversary event. Well, this flyer kind of tells you where the first thing that is.
Yeah, say it out loud so we hear it more.
It's exciting.
Yeah. But say what's on the flyer.
Oh, go ahead, Keith.
Wow.
100 years tells a story. Celebrate 100 years of education, Monday, September 4th at in the Pioneer Way entrance from Share your story.
Yeah, so so there'll be a short program in the parking lot. Three speakers, former Superintendent McMahon, current Superintendent Lipke, and Mike Madden and Heather Spitz. I don't know what they'll talk about, but it will be short. Then people will be invited into the school for tours by the National Honor Society. There'll be a 100-year video playing in here that was the video of the old school before it came down. And people can go out to the athletic field for hamburgers, brats, and hot dogs. There'll be a bounce house for the kids, root beer and soft serve ice cream. We do need somebody to lead the trivia, so if anybody's really good and a microphone, there'll be some trivia for people, and people will share their stories. So hopefully you can all come, and we will especially need assistance at 3 o'clock for cleanup.
For the program, will there be some seating for people who might need that? I know at the dedication.
There'll be a small amount of seating.
Yeah, we think like 40, 50 chairs.
Yeah, at the dedication, there were some people who had to leave because there was no seating for them.
Yes, that's on the checklist. Budget report?
This is the final one for the 22-23 unaudited. Final figures for 22-23 show a deficit of $540,000. That's less than what we anticipated when we built the budget last year. If you look at the numbers on the very bottom, the Fund 10 spent was 97.55% of what we expected, and the overall, which counts the transfers into all the other funds that have to come on, we had zero, like Fund 27 and Fund 50, it was at 98.3%. Carl, you want to talk about the cash on hand?
If you look on the top, it says Fund 10 cash on hand is only 2.8 million, but what that does not include, the revenues in Fund 10 include the final payment that we have coming for taxes, for property taxes. So at the end of the year, we have to recognize, or we have to show the revenue because it's revenue for this year. Now we have a taxes receivable account on our balance sheet because we haven't got any cash yet. That'll be coming in August. So we've got about 2.9 million coming for Fund 10 and about 1.2 coming for Fund 39. And Fund 39 will be moved to the other Fund 39 account, and then the excess that we have there will be moved to defeasance, which will pay off the later payments of the debt that we have to pay off our debt early. So right now, we are looking at, if we just stayed right where we're at today, paying off the debt about 4.5 years earlier than what we had originally planned. And that will probably move to 5 to 5.5 years early as we move along. So that's just, I mean, so the cash kind of looks low. This is probably about our lowest point in the year until we get that influx, and then we'll be good to go until we get our influx in cash again in January, February. So, and I've also some of that in there does not, claims that were made to DPI, we have not gotten that cash yet. Well, we've gotten it, but it's not reported here because we got it in July. So there's probably about 150, 200,000 of that yet that's not in that cash account yet. So, but as you can see down in the highlights, open enrollment receipts in was almost 1.3, and our expense was 770. So we made an open enrollment 516,000. We are one of the fortunate districts that can do that. Most districts, I shouldn't say most, a good portion of districts lose money on open enrollment. They have more going out than they have coming in. Since I've been here, and even before that, we've always been on the plus side. We usually have about 150 to 160 in and about 90 going out. And next year, the amount that we get for each child is increased. In fact, it's going to increase the next 2 years. Right, this year was just over 8,000. I think next year is like 8,400 for regular ed and 13,600, I think, for a special ed
student, right?
Yeah. So
those increased more than the 325 per pupil. I don't know why.
So our debt, our referendum debt,
yep.
will pay off 4.5 to 5 years early.
Because we have to accruing some interest right now, right? And that has to be paid off.
And our debt is a 20-year?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Very nice.
so from an education finance point of view, because I'm used to a different finance, is paying off your debt ahead of time good or bad?
Good.
Because it depletes your cash.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't.
If you do pay it off, you're paying off on schedule, you have that cash on hand.
But we're revenue, we're what's the word I'm looking for?
No, you collect it under that line and it has to stay in that bucket then. You can't use it in the other bucket.
So yeah, that, whatever you collect for that.
That's how you have the different funds, Jerry. That's why you have 10,
But also
39,
for your
46,
tax
like
base,
that.
we need to start looking at a strategic roadmap so that in 15 years now, everyone's vetted, there's a plan, and that would be an opportunity if the requirements are there and the support is there. That would be an opportunity in 15 years to make a capital investment if the school enterprise needed something like that.
So you can't run like a business industry. They can take all their cash and they can determine days cash on hand. Since you can't spend this cash, you can't.
It's because we have it earmarked and we have it levied for that area. We can't use it for anything else but that.
Yeah. So days cash on hand is really fun time.
Yes,
Correct.
yes, correct. Because Fund 46 has to be used for certain projects, Fund 49 has to be used for construction, and Fund 39 is for debt reduction.
So have you ever done that exercise to see days cash on hand?
What's that?
Have you ever done the exercise to see days cash on hand?
No, not that. I've seen it, I haven't done it.
It's interesting to watch.
Yeah,
Basically, he does it per month here, though.
every month is.
Every month is signed.
No, the days cash on hand just tells you how many days, if you had gotten out another dollar, how many days.
How many days could you operate?
Can continue to operate.
Yeah.
That could get this.
Okay, well, like, we can figure it out.
Huh?
We know what
you
get
figure out, you just take your cash,
but we know we're getting our taxes
You know how much-
multiple times a year.
find out how much your average expenses, take all your expenses divided by 365.
What decisions does that help support making?
What, days cash on hand?
Meaning in this case, applied to a public school where our budgets are kind of you know,
Well, I guess.
somewhat defined minus the revenue changes each year.
Well, you just cash on hand and tell you how much money you have to play with to make other decisions. And you set a limit.
We know that in October.
I know, but I'm,
That's tax based.
Right, in October we'll know. We got to.
okay, then, if you want to run it for 3 months. This will help. No?
Once a month is good enough for us, because we know what October we are.
We'll let the financial gurus figure that out.
Well, I think it's tougher if we were doing those loans every year that some small rural schools are doing.
Yeah.
So luckily, we don't have to do that, so we haven't had to pinch down to that level of measurement to make sure that, okay, well, how big of our, what's that called, that loan you gotta take?
The short-term
The
borrowing.
short-term borrowing, we haven't had to do that.
Schools don't do days cash on hand, and you can't make any comparisons to see what the measure doing what I Usually, like in my world, you want 180 to 300 days cash on hand.
You know, I think our calculation that schools look at are fund balances, and we do look at that and compare that against other schools. And that's been how and that's helped us make this board make some decisions on things to maybe invest in.
Perhaps if our fund balance weren't so healthy,
It'd be
a
lot
closer
different.
eye might
It'd be a
need
whole
to be
different,
kept
oh yeah,
on that.
we would, like this, we'd be operating in the last district, the one before that. Right.
Sweating it every.
You're going to be cash in patient.
Oh, no, because you're gonna do short-term borrowing. When I was at Royal, we short-term borrowed 10 times a year. Well, you shouldn't have to do that 10 out of 12 months a year, but yeah. When I got the job there as a high school principal, I started July 5 because I took the 1st and 2nd off, and the weekend was the 4th of July weekend. I got there on the 5th. The superintendent was on his vacation. The elementary principal had a baby on the 10th of July, and the bookkeeper came to me and said, "Can I do short-term borrowing?" And I said, "I don't know. I just got here." And she said, "Well, if I don't, you won't get a paycheck on Friday, so then we better do short-term borrowing." I said, "How often do you do this?" She goes, "About 10 months a year." Well, okay. So we're very fortunate not
I
to do
think
that.
worth saying for anyone who is listening is, so that's a different way of managing your books, right? There's a way. I think the team right now, from my understanding, what we're getting for reporting, they have a pretty good heartbeat on where our budget is. There's no wondering and questioning. They are tracking all our budget, just that they haven't gone to that additional level of work.
I just asked that question. when I was in patient.
No, I just want for other people that are listening, if they say, hey, they're not tracking their budget, well, that's a different way of doing it. And the team does a pretty good job, I think.
I can say one thing that I was rather impressed with is the fact that we had a budget of 97.5. We were within 3% of our budget as far as what we spend and what we budgeted for Fund 10 for the year. That's
pretty good.
for a $10 million budget. That's pretty good. You know, that's what I was figuring.
Sort of like game of horseshoes.
Yeah,
Move on
exactly.
to the facilities report. If there's anything on that?
I think the building and grounds covered facilities for the most part.
And then the staff survey results.
Sure, with the staff survey from this spring. All right. And this is school perceptions on this, and they've done, as you can see, thousands of surveys with hundreds of districts. And this year we had 83 of our staff members participate, which was 66%.
How does that compare with past years as far as?
80, that's, we were like in the high 70s the last couple of years.
Okay.
So we don't do any incentives to take it, just on your own, if you want to do it, take it. And here's what location you spend, which is, I mean, you know, we only have 3 grade levels at the middle school, so there's less people identified as middle school staff. And elementary, we got grades 4K through 5, so it's a larger group, so it's all proportional. And what position are you? A good cross section. How many years you work at the district? We've got a nice balance on our staff. You know, going into this year, we have 4 staff members who are going to retire, so at their end of their career. We're going to start the year with 4 brand new teachers this year.
So you think those no responses are because if people respond, they think they're gonna figure out
Where they are.
Who they are?
who they are?
I don't know, because you're only going to put in one of these 4 groups, so I don't know. It's not like it says who's been here 32 years, you know, that'd be easy to identify, but if it's more than 10, I don't know how you figure it, I don't know.
That's interesting, it sounds like it.
Sometimes people just like that,
Yeah.
I don't know, Big Brother's watching, I guess, I don't know. So it's 5 is strongly agree and 1 is strongly disagree in between. We good? So here's our scores in the 5 areas: academics, engagement, support, student experience, and staff experience.
So with the Comcast comparison, is that what you did last year? Is this, everybody takes this?
The comparison is with other districts that are about our size. Per question on the survey, there's between 20 and 90 districts they compare us to, depending on what the other staffs or districts use on their survey for questions. Typically, it's 40 to 50 districts, and they're not all rural because some are private schools, which are usually in a urban, suburban setting, but they're all about our size, student population-wise.
So that's a good comparison.
I don't like being compared to private schools, but.
No, no,
okay.
not to private schools, but if you look at that.
The same size,
If you look
yeah.
at those percentages. then-
Right.
I take my questions like you compare to grades.
They don't have special ed students, they don't have free and reduced students. If you can't afford tuition, they kick you out, you misbehave, they kick you out. We teach everybody, they don't teach everybody. If you're really good at basketball, they accept you. There's a lot of things I don't like about private schools. Yeah. So our scores, compared to comparison, we're always, I'd say, a tick above the rest.
Is that something that you could request that we don't, I mean,
Oh, kick the private, yeah, you get
yeah, I
compared
mean,
just
can they
against
just,
both.
I would assume we can just,
I guess
there's a couple
I
bucks, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
guess we could, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
I didn't happen, maybe.
If you're above the average of a group that's got private schools, then that's something we would start.
Good.
Yeah.
But I know, I think we're pretty healthy here. When you look at these 5 scores here, I think we're pretty healthy.
Good.
Okay. It's the same. Workday. Those numbers look great, I think. Yeah, you see the discipline there is at 59%, where the other numbers are in the 90s and 80s, and yet 66 percentile, so we're in the upper half and we're upper third.
There was something in the comment section about student discipline too.
Yeah, that's a theme. You'll see the theme there.
And that second one there was a little concerning.
Broadcast staff numbers.
We
And the
7%
last one,
agree.
Yeah, they those two kind of tie together.
yeah.
Third was good.
It's kind of funny because it's 80%, but it's 32nd percentile. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, you know, it's. So
I'm always on my
80% is-
soapbox about that
80% is
age
37%.
stuff, so it kind of verifies that.
Right, what'd you say, Keith?
I said that 80% is the 32nd, but 50 is.
Yeah, right, it's like a crisscross there, yeah.
So that means they really come together at the top between 80 and 90.
Must be, because if you're above 80, you got 68%, yeah, I don't know. Environment? Okay. And the same one, the district's heading in the right direction, 77% agree with that, yet it's only the 63rd percentile. So. background students that are school respective realities. I believe 71% of the staff feel that way, but that puts us at way down below percentile for comparison, so it's like, I don't know.
With that, with that question, sounds like a,
Well, that's not the one I want to question, never mind.
Okay. These numbers can't get better.
Well, Stephen, I think you went down a tick from last year.
Yeah, it's still the highest average of them. Just want to throw that out there for the record. Thank you.
Well, and I do know one staff member said he's gonna make sure Stephen can get 100% or 99%.
Yes.
That was a goal of one staff.
Stephen, are you spinning the results right now?
No, I don't have any access to these, thankfully.
And what would happen if they wouldn't get paid? Wow.
Maybe we need to resurrect the equity committee.
For the diverse backgrounds. Yeah. The staff's at 81%, but the percentile is 49, so, yeah. Staff inputs valued 65%, 35th percentile. So that's number one there. And the all genders at 9 percentile is 81%, so it's like 19% disagreeing with that. So I guess the school districts that they're serving are pretty healthy. Because your 81 gets you 9 percentile. I don't know what you gotta get to get at 50%. Likely to recommend the district a place for employment. Vast majority is at, 8, 9, 10%, 10, on a 10-point scale.
So we agree that 7.3.
So what are we going to do with this?
I don't know, every year we look at it and, I don't know, we've talked about it as a team, we looked at their individual comments. I'd say about 2/3 of the people that did the survey gave a comment, both positive and negatively. I don't know. What would you guys
We were always
do?
told never look at the comments.
What?
We were told the least important part of the employee satisfaction is looking at the comments because it's not statistically meaningful. It's an emotional response, and so don't spend your time.
I think we need to dig deeper into this and
I
get
know.
staff engaged and,
Well, I think you need to take no more than 5 items.
So if you take that one student discipline, that's a percentage. I think Sue's right. We need to ask the staff, why do you think it's not handled correctly, properly? The pay scale isn't fair. Okay, why? How do we address it if we don't know why?
right, I think it needs a deep dive into it by a smaller group of people and find out what's going on. Otherwise, why give the survey if we aren't going to use the results?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
So pick 5 areas.
you take 5 of those areas of concern, and from that, then you cast down your objectives, what you're going to do with it. You have a team who's working on it, and you measure it. You can through the course of the year, or you do specific, you get agreement, and these are the 5 areas that we as a school, as an organization, are now working on this coming year. You get buy-in from your staff. It's formed together by you and your administrative team. And then you actually put together a whole program on that and measure it however you can and get feedback through the course of the year. You have to go back to staff. But you can't go over the whole, you can't do the whole thing. So I'm just talking from experience now, but that's how you do it, or you're going to be going in all directions.
Well, let's let a committee look at it and see what they want to do with it.
No, the administration's going to do that, and then they bounce it off.
I do think, I agree with Jerry, I think the administrative team should look at it and they identify the areas that we might address. And the school board might agree with that, or we might disagree, we might have other areas, but we should at least have them first.
Well, I would offer this. So what I dig into these things is, these one statement questions, they don't define the problem.
Right.
Somebody interpreted this question right. So if the staff truly has these concerns, right, there's also the concern we always hear about lack of communication from the board. We've heard that for every one of these things. And we've tried other things, we've tried separate meetings, no one comes. So what's interesting to me is they'll do it on a survey, but they won't lift their feet to come to a meeting to improve that communication. So what I would do is if we pick a few areas that maybe I want to look at, but then the staff sets up a group and define what that really problem is. Do we really have a problem, or did you hit me on a Wednesday and I click 6 instead of 9, or 2 instead of, you know? Because I will tell you, you don't solve a problem until you know what the problem is. So that's where I think that maybe this admin team may pick some subset of areas, right? 5 or less. And just see what happens. But get the staff in and say, hey,
Yes.
we're giving you an opportunity to dig into this, because some of you made a note, so please come involved, you know, and help define what the real problem is.
The staff has to be engaged in
Yeah,
this process.
and then start, if you can actually define a problem that they somewhat makes sense and fits that category, then you start talking about action plans. And then part of that action plan, are those even feasible within the construct of this organization and our budgets?
And I think that's what Jerry meant. The administrative team picks those items. They bring them back to the school board and we say, yeah, we agree with those, or we don't disagree with those. And then they create the program to dig into it.
Do you still work with students?
No. I worked on a little bit this year, and we're not going to keep going on that.
Because that's their key thing about what they work with. Is like working kind of stuff. How do you put the program together, how do you measure it, how do you keep it going, and you set your goals and objectives based on this stuff. That's so common sense type stuff.
So you want administration to relook at the survey and then form a committee with staff members to identify no more than 5 areas to improve upon? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think you need to, I think administrative.
I don't know why 5 is the number, but
No, I don't
No,
think there's
no,
an magic
I don't
number.
think you have to pick 5 if there's.
No more than 5, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Because it also takes staff time.
He said no more than 5.
Yeah.
okay.
That would be the absolute max.
Or your administrative team can say, we'll look at everything, what we miss by lower than 50th percentile or the 60th percentile, whatever you want to do.
But I mean,
Well,
there
and
may-
that
there may be 5 questioners that are a theme. I mean, maybe there's
Yeah,
some
some
cohorts that we're all dealing with discipline. That's one area then that
Right.
we could look at.
Yeah.
And then there may be, there's another, so maybe you
Okay,
have
that
a
makes
couple.
more sense.
Another
Maybe you
area
have
was
a couple of
diversity, there were
themes.
several questions in that area.
Yeah, and then some other areas. Don't have too many that just squat.
Right.
Keep it simple, 2 or 3.
So I would leave it no more than 5.
Okay.
So we're in agreement, we'd like them to go back and do that, the administrative team to go back on that, right? It's not an action item, but that seems to be the consensus of what we're looking for. And board goals, we don't have any goals, but that would be a good goal for the board to have, and the administrative team puts that together. We'll move to new business.
I'm sorry, just the final, but you're supposed to look on that is, then that becomes a standing report to the board every month. keeping us abreast of what's going on, what's measured, and what activities are on. And then next year, you can move up and you look at another 5 things.
We had some information from Mr. Lippy in one of his communications about the budget. Anything else you want to talk about on that?
Yeah, no, it's 320.
I mean, the state budget and how it
Yeah.
affects us.
Well, we're going to receive $325 more per pupil for each of the next 2 years of the biennial budget. That won't keep up with the rate of inflation, but that's a nice step in the right direction. The special ed will help the first year, but depend how it pans out across the entire state, it's a set dollar amount.
Does that come from the state budget director, that just increases our referendum budget that we can go to the taxpayers and take?
When the $325, so like right now, each student in Sevastopol is a resident student full-time, not 4K, it's worth $11,016. Next year it'll be worth that plus $325. So you find out that amount that you can receive in revenue, and then you subtract out the state aid, and the rest comes from local taxpayers.
Right.
Our state aid last year was $4,700, and next year it's going to be $4,000. So it's not going to be, so it's all going to come on the locals on that. The special ed will come in categorical aid.
Got it. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
They were predicting, according to Bob Lane at the Legislative Fiscal Bureau, for special ed for us, $35,391 in 23-24, and $50,374 in 24-25, and then mental health in each of the years, $16,741.
Now, when you talk about the increase, it's going to be what, $40,000 on this kind of budget, and that mental health is per pupil.
Right.
You have to remember, before this, we had the mental health grant, which we wrote with the other 3 districts in the county, not counting Washington Island, for $75,000. So that $75,000 is going to go away, and then it's per pupil based for there. So you lose $75,000 because it's not a competitive grant system anymore, and now it's based on per pupil.
$16,741.
Right, so
So 16,000 is the number.
Right.
16,000
Which
compared to.
replaces 75,000.
But yeah, what I don't know what Sturgeon Bay, Southern Door, and Gibraltar's numbers are, because you got to take the 75,000 and add our force. And so if we're at 16, I would imagine Gibraltar's going to be about the same, because their enrollment's about the same, so that's 32. And the other 2 are a little bit larger, so it might be a tick up
Yeah.
from 75, but not much. It's not gonna add anything.
But what they may be able to do is they may be, because right now we're getting all the bills from United Way, who runs the program. We get all the bills and then we claim, from the school-based mental health services grant. What they can probably do now, if each school district getting their own money, they can bill each one, so we know what we're getting billed for our school only, and what we'll get for each pupil only.
The 4 of us all just grouped together, so you have no idea.
Right now, it's all
Right,
by their
75,000 in one lump for all 4 of us to share. Now we got 16,000.
We don't know how much is spending per student. We have no idea because I don't know how many students are servicing in each district. Right now, they just send me a bill whenever they put it together, and I do the claim, get reimbursed, and, it's not really costing us anything because we get reimbursed for it. But it's for all.
Both, it comes in and it goes out.
Yeah.
And I did just get an email tonight that the reading bill was signed by Governor Evers. And I guess the one question I had is the training requirement, if all of our teachers have the training that's going to be required by
I heard
2025.
I heard Kitchens on the radio happy that his bill passed, and he commented that we were fortunate in this little northeast Wisconsin area that all of our schools had already transitioned to the
Signs of reading.
approved reading curriculum. So it sounds like we probably won't be getting any help from it.
It just pays for the training that we are trained.
Right.
So you're not eligible.
Well, and it'll help if the new hires, we have some
Yeah.
new young people coming in, so we can get them trained
Yeah.
if they fit that classroom.
Yeah.
We do have, we did sign a agreement or a grant that's letters And I think that we need to look and see what the bill says, like what training it is, because we do currently have some financial resources to make sure of that. Not a lot, but there's a pocket,
Right.
where we can get reimbursed to make sure that that we're meeting that criteria, so.
We're fortunate that we've had good teachers, and
Yeah.
hopefully the money helps all those other school districts that
I don't want.
aren't so fortunate. I'll look for motions on these two resignations.
That's right.
I make a motion to approve the resignation of Annie Kaplanek, middle school track and field coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Move to approve the resignation of Kim Hayward, cook.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then we need to approve the notice to parents and guardians of academic standards.
This lists all of our report cards for last year, and that gives all the educational opportunities that kids is possible to have, which is quite a plethora of choices here, or options.
Move to,
Go ahead, you got it.
move to approve the notice to parents, guardians on academic standards.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have changes to the 23-24 employee handbook. Is that the good changes?
In your packet, you have the entire document, but then on the one page, it gave you a summary where the changes are. On page 3, I'd just like to change that from what we've had in there in the past to include our new mission, vision, and guiding principles. The retirement clause left out department heads, and by department heads, I mean like food service director, Carl's position, Stephen's position, those directors, not principals and superintendents. And then the other numbers are, the other pages are all numerical changes because of salary ladder, insurance rates, hourly rates. On page 30, I missed one though. The overnight trips paid for the department time upon return with minus 8 hours per night sleep for the bus drivers. The rate for a special trip should be $22.76, the same as a special trip. So I missed that change in that page.
So 2276 instead of 2120.
2120, right, because
Okay.
they're going on, basically an overnight trip is a special trip, but they don't get paid for their sleep time. That's always been the case.
Okay.
So I missed changing the 2120 to 2276. And we struck out secretary 1, we don't have a secretary 1, we have secretaries only. We don't differentiate between the elementary secretary and the high school secretary.
If there are no questions, is there a motion?
Move.
Or other questions?
In the training section,
What page you on?
that's page 15. Do we need to add anything in there for Narcan training?
Right now, Narcan is optional. We do offer it. We got, I don't know how many staff members participated. It's going to be during in-service days. So it's optional training.
Since you're the first school in the area to do this, we're going to market or public relations or you're doing the press on it. That's a really positive thing.
I know.
I forget what's
You're going to toot your own horn because you're going to do it in the other schools. I mean, they're going to roll it off to the other schools, but you're the first school to do it.
Do a press release, say we train Narcan. I don't know.
Well, I think your whole program, you got this things on the walls and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think the fact that we're dealing with it, sometimes if you draw too much attention to it, some people may think we have a problem and we're dealing with it that way. at least are being proactive and not responding to an existing threat that we have right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it shows, since you'd be the first school on the peninsula, or maybe even, I don't know, or your schools that does that, it shows that you are a proactive leader and stuff like that. And I think, presumably, you always want to be known as the first on the block to do something. Especially some of the title of student safety.
And right now, it's, I agree with Dick, it can go either way, I think. And so like if, when the next school makes a big billboard sign about it, like, well, we've done this for years already.
Yeah, we say we just
So,
like
and then
23.
the other thing is, this is voluntary training, right?
Mhm.
So as soon as we toot our own horn, we don't know how many voluntarily.
That
are
doesn't,
trained.
the issue is you've got the program in place. You've got stations throughout the organization in case there's an emergency. To me as a parent, I think reading about the flow of drugs now into Wisconsin, it would make me sleep a little bit better at night knowing that Johnny is safe, or at least there's ability and some trained people there to respond quickly. If another school puts it on a billboard, everyone would be saying, why the hell didn't we do that? We were the first one here, and nobody even knew about it. I mean, it's a whole issue of going to toot your own horn on new and innovative things doing. And one of the things we said here is we don't do a good job of that.
I hear the words you're saying, I'm just kind of, I'm with Dick.
It's always a risk no matter what you talk about. You can always take anything to it. I think if you're the first on the block to do a student safety issue, nobody else is doing it. We know they're all going to do it because the hospital's rolling that out in all the schools. Why don't you?
Do we know the other schools haven't done anything? I wouldn't.
I don't ask.
I just
them
know
what
it's
they got for
rolling
Narcan.
out in the other schools. I have been told. So I'm saying, why don't you take it?
I hate to say I'm first and then find out that so-and-so's already doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not to say you're first, just say you're doing it.
Yeah, well, and the important thing is that parents are aware of it. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to have a media blitz about it, but
No.
parents, or it should be part of the orientation.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the most important thing.
So Mr. Schaefer talked about it at 9th grade orientation. Well, that's when we see our high school parents for the first time.
What's it, help me understand, what's the pushback from letting the community know and get some positive press?
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of press release it is to say we had volunteer Narcan training for our
You
staff.
just call up what's his face that does the little interviews on
Nick Fredwood?
huh?
Nick Fredwood?
Yeah, just call him up. He'll be up here with us and on his program, and half the county will know about it.
I'm sure that's a let's go to our county thing.
Well, it's a vehicle. And I like
When we do a press release, we send it out to
I
all
get
the
a
media
feeling you
sources,
find,
right?
yeah,
I just don't know.
Marketing this space, I
Yeah.
understand it.
I think it's not marketing. I think there's a difference with your experience and background and where you
The
sit.
student, it's just community education.
The community members that I represent, I mean, the ones I know and hang out with, I don't know that that's number one on their list and
No,
our tracking.
no one said it is, but it's like, it's just another positive piece of news going through the community.
Well, when I
about
think
this
of
school.
marketing, I think to draw customers, and which would be open
This
enrollment.
isn't about it, this is,
Well, that's what when you mention marketing, that's what I think of. And so I think, okay, if I advertise that we have Narcan here, are we going to try and get more open enrolled kids here because of it? And I know some parents would say, well, they got Narcan training, they must have a problem with drugs in their school. So now the staff is trained in case a kid goes down over an overdose, which has never happened here in my knowledge of Sevastopol history. But
I guess marketing is the wrong word, I guess I would call it community education. Tooting your horn over something you're doing, which is good. Or you wouldn't be doing it. And you're first in the community to do it. Let the community get recognized for it.
Why don't you ask the SROS Police Department and give an assessment on what they see about the county and how they think?
And maybe they're doing something
I'll call the
countywide.
sheriff up and talk to her and
Sure.
see if it's
Yeah.
a
Take it under
big deal. or-
consideration.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea, I mentioned it during
orientations and stuff.
Well,
People come,
parents aware.
parents are aware that
Patients are,
those things
parents
are.
are.
Well, and
I
we
just want to
figured
hear,
out the other day, 12% of our students have parents that work in this building, so they're all aware. I don't know.
I just don't want to hear when Sturgeon Bears up or Southern Dory has a big blurb about it, and everybody's saying, oh, aren't they a great school? Look what they're doing down there, you know?
Well, when they say that, we'll just say,
Well,
we're literally 2 years ahead of them.
Gary, it's one aspect of our education process here. It's
Very,
not the primary.
very
And I
small.
hope we never have to use
I know,
it.
but
Yes.
take advantage of what you got.
Okay, well, we're on the handbook, so.
Did we
No.
receive a motion?
No motion yet.
Handbook changes?
I would move to approve the 2023-2024 employee handbook as presented.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we have the middle school, high school athletic handbook.
There's a
There's a middle
The
school.
middle, the middle,
one and the
okay,
high
just the
school
middle,
one.
okay, middle
They're
school, high
separate.
school, middle school handbook first.
Moved up from the middle school.
Want to comment on that or
Second.
questions about it?
I have one comment. When I read through it, I'll just use the restorative justice clause in here. In the handbook, we're talking about the athletic handbook, right? Okay. You know, I don't know, I guess, what the purpose of putting some of these in. I guess, you know, if I'm a student thinking about, you know, I like baseball, I want to play baseball, and I start, you know, if I actually read the handbook, I don't know how many students read the handbook and are totally familiar with it, but I find it's, you know, this restorative justice focuses on repairing the damages done through the service the school providing them high character. I don't know, I think it strays from, you know, the intent of an athletic program. This seems to be more of a, I don't know, almost like a private school, boarding school type attitude. You know, and then there's some of the other clauses that are in here too. I mean, there's a lot of technical information in here regarding offenses and you know, how to redeem yourself and that sort of thing. And I think sometimes we get just too involved in this whole kind of morality, behavior, image, language in an athletic handbook. I mean, these are kids that are out for athletics. You know, what are we looking for in these children? No, I don't know.
I think it's
A lot of
needed.
them be good examples of human beings.
They do, and I mean, there's plenty of opportunities in here for that. It's just that it seems like it's overworked.
Well, remember what we just saw? Somewhere in here, there people are saying there's a discipline problem, and it's not consistent. This is going to add additional consistency, and if you talk to the staff members, they'll tell you our kids, for some reason, I won't pin it, but I would, is they're not getting the discipline and they don't have the respect for their staff members. So this is where we are. This is needed. I fully support that personally, because we have the disruption in classrooms is growing more and more, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what the staff that I, you know, friends and family, you know, that's the problem. And this is a way of trying it. And then, as an example, if in a few years from now, everything blew up and it didn't help, we can pull it back out of it, you know?
Well,
Did you mention restorative practice, justice, that part?
I mean, is this WAA generated or
No,
is
it's
this?
not, no, the restorative justice is from us.
Okay.
Is that what you're?
Yeah,
are you
there's one.
walking in that
I mean,
system?
that one kind of comes out in front of me.
So
Maybe you can make the assumption sometimes that good student athletes, you know, automatically do this, and we don't need to have it in writing, but
We have a growing.
It sounds like sometimes, and also in some of the behavior things like attending the, what is it, socially unacceptable activity. And sometimes, okay, so that, a lot of these things happen outside the realm of the school.
Yeah, that's like if there's a drinking party going on, you're a student athlete, you're not supposed to be present, so you're supposed to get out of it.
That is a WIA.
Right,
That's what I'm-
you're supposed to stay away from drugs and alcohol.
I mean,
Right.
if you're asking why this is all needed, I mean, clearly, as Dave said, there's problems with discipline. I mean, to spell it all with yes is a little, you know, I think it's very thorough.
But that's the
Maybe
point.
maybe thorough is needed.
I-
That's what we're looking for in kids. I think what we want is respectful kids. And whether we need, you know, a 20-page document saying that, then let's try it.
It's 78.
I would add too, it's very similar, you're always supportive of policies, right? You've been in the government kind of thing for a long time. Why do you write a policy? So that staff members and everybody can understand it, they can read it and know.
Gives them guidance.
We have a lot of parents that don't understand this, and they don't understand the discipline. So they can read the handbook and say, this is a reasonable balance of what we're trying to do, so that when they're not disrupting practices, the leadership, you know, that they're trying to coach kids and everyone's distracting them. So I do, it's just another way of making it clearer so there's no surprises, and it is more consistent.
I can see where Dave's coming from, because when I read it, I thought, well, this is really nicely well written, I mean, for a first time. And then I thought, but we have a student handbook, right? Is this a subdivision of the student handbook?
Right, it's
Yeah,
for
that's just
student
for
athletes, right?
But why do you have one just for athletics? This should be a chapter of the student handbook. It shouldn't have to be 13 pages long.
78.
Oh, 78 pages long on athletics. I mean, you got the
Is it
guiding,
WIA?
the guiding Koran is,
Brian Coran.
guiding Koran now.
Why is there a WIAA at all? Why aren't we all under DPI?
I'm not there, I'm talking about where, I'm talking to Sevastopol.
Same structure.
Yeah, but why do,
Well, I mean,
the guiding thing is the student handbook. Do you need another 70 pages if you become an athlete?
I don't know, do you think it's intimidating to students?
You think they'll read it?
Well, that's another question. I mean, how many students actually read through this?
They're well aware of what they can or cannot do.
Well,
Yeah, that's fair.
the basics.
They read it when they get in trouble, and they gotta figure out a way out, right?
Athletics is one place where students can learn character and teamwork and
They learn that by
the
participating.
restorative justice. It used to be, you got caught at a drinking party, you're off the team you're out for 5 games.
Okay, I mean,
But
that,
now, instead of you're out for 5 games, you're out for 5 games, but here's some things you can do that
Well, this reduces it in half.
make.
First time.
Make
Oh, yeah,
you-
okay, but if there's a student handbook, well, I guess why do you need another 78 pages? Shouldn't the athletic part be incorporated into the student handbook? Shouldn't there be just a handbook for all the guide how you're supposed to act and what you're supposed to do as a student, which would certainly go over this. I didn't read anything I ever hear about being a good sportsman, is it?
There are definitely things that need to be addressed for athletics outside the student, outside the student.
I understand, but there can only be a chapter of the student handbook, not a handbook.
well, if you perceive
This is
that,
coming from experience
if you
with this
perceive
building.
that there is
Was that?
This was generated within this building and communication with other schools and athletic programs. This, you know, so this is a growing problem beyond just this school. And so that pattern is out there. So like lots of things we brought up about change, this, I don't know if that's the one to change. And so, but and as a side note, we had a motion on the table and a second
Yes.
on this topic, so.
just
So this we're just discussing.
Yeah, I know, I'm just,
Is
I know.
someone calling the question,
Well, we keep
or was
talking.
it continuing
Otherwise-
to discuss?
I guess it doesn't matter if it's a separate handbook, or if we make it a
Yeah.
chapter in the student handbook next time, either way, but all the members of the athletic committee, except for Mrs. Tank, are here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess I support it in the sense that, I mean, the athletic director, our principal, we have a committee that think some work on it, so I guess.
Hey, but you don't pass it just because you did it. I guess it's not side of my question is, what is in here, what do's and don'ts are in here that are not in the regular student handbook?
I think that's too big of a question to answer
Right.
tonight. I'm going to call this question. We have a committee that put this together, and we always want to honor the committee's work. They've done a good job, so we're gonna vote. All in favor of approval of this middle school handbook, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. What I suggest is maybe for next year, you look at how this might be incorporated with, if it might be incorporated with the student, regular middle school student handbook, or if it really needs to be standalone. Then we'll look at the high school athletic handbook.
I would move to approve the high school athletic handbook.
Second.
Are there questions or discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then the coaches handbook.
Move to approve the coaches handbook?
Second.
Questions or discussion on that one? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. That concludes our regular business. I'll look for a motion to convene to executive session.
Move to convene in executive session.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Jared?
All right.
Dave?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried at 8:06 PM. First look for the motion on the full-time special education aide.
I would move to approve Stephanie Ballman as the full-time special education aide / associate.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then the middle school, high school secretary.
I'd make a motion to approve the hiring of Brooke Tong as the middle school, high school administrative assistant.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. That concludes our business. Our next meeting will be August 16th. And if you don't have any other committee meetings that you need to schedule in the meantime,
No, we do have new teacher orientation on the 15th of August. It's always nice if someone can come and represent the board on that day.
August 15th?
August 15th,
What time?
breakfast at 7:40.
7:40?
Yep. And then on the 16th is substitute teacher training. We always invite everyone who's on our sub list, and we advertise it out to try and get more subs. And that's breakfast begins at 7:40 as well.
What was the second date?
16th of August. They're back to back days.
15th and the 16th.
15th and 16th.
Was
yeah.
that 7:48?
7:40. Yep.
if there's nothing else, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried at 8:21 PM.